Hey everyone, this is Jane Getter, and you're listening to Sonic Perspectives.
Progress out there. I am Rodrigo Altaf, broadcasting live here from Toronto, and my guests today are a couple with a musical pedigree like very few others. Jane has a 20-year career as a solo artist and has performed with a myriad of artists, including Ursala Dudziak, The Roots, The Jam, Kenny Garrett, Mike Clark, Michal Urbaniak, and many more. In addition, her husband Adam is a renowned jazz keyboard player. He was hired by Miles Davies in 1985 and stayed with him for 4 years, eventually becoming his musical director. He has participated, produced, arranged, and performed with artists like Ray Manzarek, Michel Petrucciani, Steps Ahead, Ray Wilson, and more recently, Steven Wilson, to name a few. So without further ado, let's welcome Jane Getter and Adam Holzman.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
Jane and Adam, it's a pleasure to talk to you both today. And I understand you're ready to record your 6th solo album this year, the second under the name Jane Getter Premonition, right?
That's correct.
And there's an Indiegogo campaign to fund, which ends actually tonight.
Right.
Yeah, so give us an overall idea of what kind of packages are available for those who want to contribute.
Well, there's anything from the most minimal contribution, which is $15, is you get a pre-release digital download, and then it goes up from there all the way. I mean, you different levels. Definitely, the signed pre-release CD. Then there's you receive T-shirts and back catalogs of my CDs, and then when you get up into the higher numbers, you can attend recording sessions. You can observe the mixing and mastering sessions, and VIP passes to shows, and I think that's and copies of the vinyl of On for the last album. We vinyl of that. I know there's a lot of vinyl collectors out there, and with a beautiful cover by a Swedish photographer, an artist, Danish photographer, Lasse Hoyle, who did a lot of Steven Wilson stuff, instead of Porcupine Tree and everything. Yeah.
All right.
So. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, tell us about the other members of the band, because aside from you and your husband, there are some amazing players there with you. Alex Skolnick, Chad Wackerman, Stu Hamm. How did you manage to get all those guys together?
They're just friends.
A lot of them are friends, and I definitely have worked with them all in the past.
Yeah.
And in different situations, different tours, different concerts, and we're slated to have 2 different bass players on the album, Stu Hamm and Mark Egan. Who people know from Pat Metheny and Gil Evans, and Chad Wackerman and Alex. And now I've just announced that we're going to have Vernon Reid as a special guest.
Oh, wow. Wow, very cool, very cool. I love Vernon, yeah.
And going to have a special guest vocalist which is still yet to be announced.
And I have to say that for me, Alex would be the biggest surprise, at least for the metal fans out there, because many people know him as the guitar player of Testament, but they're not aware of his work as a jazz fusion guitar player. So does he or any other members of the band contribute also to the composition process, or?
No, actually, I write all the songs. And Adam helps me with arrangement ideas sometimes, a lot of times. And he's going to be co-producing the album with me, but all the material is mine, my composition.
But Alex also, he's got a jazz trio too. So I think a lot of the Testament fans are aware of that.
Yeah, he does, and he's worked with. He has an album out called Planetary Coalition, which is amazing as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's done a lot of different projects, but Jane's concept. He's an important voice as part of her concept when he plays with this.
Yeah, because
project.
I wanted to, because there's some metal aspects to my writing and a lot of hard edge sections in my songs, and I wanted the authentic metal approach to that, and the real deal. And also Alex's jazz background makes him the perfect guy for my band.
Yeah.
and he's such a really sweetheart person and really fun to play with. I have a blast playing with him.
Yeah, I saw a few videos of you playing with him. I mean, your shows, of course, on YouTube. He fits like a glove, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, he does.
I feel so lucky and blessed that I made that connection. You know?
Yeah. And I have a question about one of the songs in your previous albums, On. It has a bit of an unusual title. Logan would have sounded great on this. What's the origin of that title?
Well, there's a bass player from New York named Steve Logan that used to play in Adam's band Mona Lisa Overdrive.
Well, I mean, he played bass with David Sanborn and John Schofield.
Wow.
He was a really interesting bass player and a very good friend.
Yeah, a really good friend. And he moved to Poland.
Wow.
And he passed away a few years ago.
It was a total shock.
A total shock. And the bass line on that song that I wrote just reminded me of him so much. And he would have sounded so great on that song.
Exactly like what he would have played.
So that's where, so Logan, that's his Steve Logan. So that's where that comes from.
Okay. And my favorite tracks on the previous album had Corey Glover on vocals. Will he be with you again for the upcoming album or not?
Well, as I said before, a special guest vocalist is yet to be announced.
Okay.
Stay tuned, everybody.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing. It's nice to change it up sometimes anyway. So we'll see. We'll just see how it works.
Yeah.
All right. And how much of the new album is already written and demoed, and how many songs are there?
Well, good question. I actually have a lot of material. I have over 2 CDs worth of material.
Can I chime in here? Yeah, she could do a doubles album if she wanted to right now.
Oh, wow.
Which I would love to, but it all depends on how much money we raise from this campaign. Because I'm doing this independently for the first time. And, I guess you could say that the more songs you record, the more money is required. To do it. So, I mean, I would love to be able to do that. They're all demoed. Some of them a lot of them are not completely finished. Songs are finished, but the arrangement ideas and stuff like that are not completely finished, which I will be getting to once this campaign is over and I can figure out how much I'm gonna record, and basically that's it. So.
Okay. So, and what kind of direction would you say the new album's going? Is it a natural progression from the previous album, or are you taking a complete shift, or?
I would say it's a natural progression from the previous album. Yeah, I'm not done with that stuff yet. It's still in me, that direction.
I see.
I gotta say. But there is more vocal tunes, I think. Then there will be more vocal tunes or more vocal sections amongst the instrumental songs than in my last album, I would say.
But with her last album, she established kind of a new sort of style for her, sort of solidified. And it's good to do one more in a similar zone just to kind of really solidify that whole particular format,
Yeah.
I see.
But it wasn't a conscious thing. That's where my writing is going. That's just what I'm coming up with,
I see.
So.
Yeah, well, I'm very much looking forward to that one. But if you allow me, I'd like to take a detour and ask some questions to Adam for a minute. Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah.
Here he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Adam, let's go back in time first. Since you're the band leader with Miles Davies, can you compare and contrast the work you did with him versus playing with Steve Vaughan Wilson, for example?
I don't know about compare contrast. They're both completely different universes,
and
completely different dynamic with the way the band function and stuff like that. So there's no comparison really, but it's good to. Ironically, I think that I actually have more room to do different things in the context of Steven's band than I did with Miles. It was more of a supportive role, and it was kind of a lot of the music was. Either a little bit like Miles's late '70s stuff, or is more of a sort of a pop funk format, similar to the pop hits, and he was very much into Prince and James Brown and all that, and so that was the direction of the band, and the soloists were just basically Miles and whoever the guitar player and sax player were, and even though I had a chance to play a little bit, stretch out a little bit in a couple of the songs. it's ironic that I'm touring in a rock band now, and there's actually a lot more freedom for me to do different things in Steven's context. I think part of it is because Steven has a really wide variety of stuff for a keyboard role. It could be anything from creating soundscapes and interesting sounds and background noises, all the way to classic rock organ approach, playing a lot of piano stuff, soloing on a mini Moog. All these things are kind of coming from different styles, and it's a great opportunity to play all that stuff. But of course, nothing can really compare with playing with Miles, especially early in your career.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I love playing with Steven, and like I said, there is a certain amount of freedom in his context that is more that is fun for me now. But when I was playing, when you tour and record with someone like Miles for 4 years, it completely changes your career, and it changes how you think about music, and it also opens up a ton of opportunities. And so there's really nothing can compare to that. But when people ask me what it was like to play with Miles, my answer is usually it was sort of like life itself. It was great. It was hard. There were struggles. There was there was resolution. Trying to figure out what he wants was part of the challenge. But I must have been doing something right because he kept me around for 4 years.
What was he like as a person? I mean, he was an interesting character for sure.
There's a persona he has in public that was this very mysterious and dark and maybe a little bit scary or something for some folks. But actually, in person, he was funny. He was very sarcastic. He was always joking around. He'd have the whole band cracking up sometimes. And, he was a little bit more, and also he would speak, and people think that he would, if he wanted something from me musically, that he would speak in very oblique terms. But actually, he'd be very straightforward. He'd say, play 2-bar phrases, play 4-bar phrases, subdivide this. I mean, he was actually, let's modulate to a different key. He was actually very specific. So
I see.
To popular belief. So anyway.
Yeah. Okay. And do you find that your approach to playing live changes in regards of who the touring guitarist is? I mean, when you're with your wife or when you're with Steven Wilson, is that a different approach in your playing, or?
Not the guitar so much as the overall style of the band.
I see.
You have to adapt, to whatever that is. Sometimes I play in a lot of the bands I played when I was first playing around a lot, like with Shaka Khan and Grover Washington, and even with Miles, it was always a double keyboard situation. And so that you have to adapt to that first, and then you adapt to the guitars. The guitars in those contexts ends up being more like a horn, a solo voice, and so there isn't the traditional comping role so much in that context. But I mean, guitars will determine the style of a band, but the overall style is what you have to serve.
I see. And what kind of role did you have in the creative process of the previous albums with Jane and in the new one in the works?
Basically, I think she uses me sort of as a sounding board. I make little suggestions with the arrangements and stuff like that. And I'm also pretty comfortable in the recording studio, so I'm able to take some pressure off of her. She doesn't have to worry about every little thing when we're recording. She can focus more on the music, and I can, do stuff with the engineer or et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, basically just helping out and throwing my 2 cents in fairly often, but that's pretty much the extent of it. I mean, it's her album, So I'm not trying to make any big creative statements, only within the context of her music.
I see. And, well, obviously, you've been working together for a while now. Do you guys agree on everything when you're writing and recording? I mean, speaking for myself, I love my wife, but working with her would be the end of our relationship, I guess.
We have our ups and downs.
We don't agree on everything.
I say we agree on 90%.
But we do agree on a lot because we have a lot of similar tastes in music and just the way we conduct our lives, and we do get along in most areas, but we don't agree on everything. And when push comes to shove, it's obviously my decision. Yeah. If he feels strongly about something that I'm like, and I feel strongly the other way, it's obviously my decision.
Okay.
But because sometimes we get in rehearsal, people laugh at us when we're talking.
No, but we're cooler than most couples in that situation.
We are.
And and like I said before, I think we agree on most of the stuff. The stuff that we end up not agreeing on will be arrangements of songs or a mix.
I see.
We go to the mat for those things sometimes. But besides that, I mean, I guess that's pretty much everything in a way.
So.
I see.
Well, a lot of people ask us about that because I guess it's unusual to be able to work so well.
But there's lots of couples that play together. There's lots of couples.
Yeah. Well, I hope it's not an Ike and Tina Turner scenario.
No.
Might be kind of fun, actually. I'm just kidding.
What?
No, but actually, there isn't too many fusion couples.
Yeah,
I guess that's what makes us a little bit unique.
Yeah.
You're right.
Mostly.
Progressive rock fusion.
Yeah.
Couples.
Well,
And going back to your roots, Jane, what drove you to pick up guitar as opposed to other instruments during your musical upbringing?
Well, I was originally given piano lessons when I was a kid, and my sister was given guitar lessons. For some reason, that's how my parents decided to divide up our music lessons.
Yeah.
But I always ended up spying on her guitar lessons. I would sit at the top of the stairs and just spy on it. I was obviously drawn to the guitar at an early age, and so I guess my parents eventually got the hint and started giving me guitar lessons. But it was interesting because my first guitar lessons were from a flamenco guitar teacher, and that was my style. But that I didn't stick with that. But I love that style today. But that's obviously not what I did.
Yeah.
So
It's a good workout, I guess, if you're learning, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, you're also a fine singer. What would you say are your main influences in your singing style?
Well, my singing style is basically limited to my ability because I don't have a very wide range. I don't have a very loud voice. Because I try not to compare myself to my favorite singers out there, which are amazing singers. Like of course, like Chaka Khan and Corey Glover has always been one of my favorite singers.
Yeah.
So my singing is just sort of, it's my style. It's just, and I write my material that I write is suited for my voice.
it's songwriter singing.
Yeah, thank you. Songwriter singing.
I
So
see.
it's and I had always sung backups in bands, but the singing lead is a fairly new thing for me. I guess I started that on 3. Did I sing any leads on 3?
I don't remember, but you. I mean, she's a strong backup singer for years and years and years, and she's just now slowly getting into more and more of the lead singing.
But I always like to have a strong singer in my band to cover the melodies that are not suited for my voice, and also to have some strong harmonies and backgrounds and stuff, because that's important to me.
Yeah. I guess it takes a while to adapt when you're in a backup singer kind of role to a lead singer, right? There's a lot to learn and to adapt. Yeah?
Yes, that's right. That's right. But I really enjoy it. I mean, it's a lot of fun. So, and I feel like the more I do it, I feel like my voice gets stronger and stronger. So obviously it's something I'm going to continue.
By the way, I love the contracts of Corey and your voice in the previous album. I hope that there's something similar to that in the new one.
Oh yeah, there will be.
Yeah.
There will be. Yes, thank you. Yeah.
I hope so. Well, going back again to the new album, do you have a working title yet? And what's the tentative release date?
Do not have a working title yet. Have been kind of wrestling with that for a while, and still am. But I'm sure I'll come up with something soon. And we're planning on going into the studio in September.
I see.
And so
early in the year for release.
Yeah, so probably early in the year when all is said and done. You know, mixing and mastering, and then the production. I mean, so.
Okay, and you guys are playing Progstock 2019 in New Jersey this year. What's the expectation for that?
I'm assuming it's going to be like about the size of Woodstock, maybe.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Jazz rock fusion will finally take over the world once and for all. Anything short of that is going to be a big disappointment for me.
It's a cool event. It's a cool event. I've been there.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
sure it's going to be great.
I'm really
And
looking
it's gonna be
forward to it.
A lot of cool people there who really
a lot
know
of cool
about
people,
music.
and the people that are running it are really nice and supportive. And I like the whole concept of it being like a hang weekend. They want everybody to hang out and do special appearances with different bands. And I think it's going to be a really fun weekend.
Yeah.
It's easy to sit in on a prog band. It's not like jazz. Well,
And other than that date, are there any tour dates planned at this point, or when can we hear about the new tour dates?
Well, not going to be going out on tour till the album is done.
Okay.
So next year, hopefully, I don't know, maybe spring or something.
But if you want to catch me and Jane live, there's going to be a tour with my band coming up in the fall in Europe. I don't know how European listeners you have, but I'm going to be doing a 2-week tour of, I guess it'd be sort of Northern Europe. It'd be Germany, Holland, Sweden, Norway, with my project Adam Holzman and Brave New World. And Jane will be with me on that. And it'll be a 5-piece band. That'll be instrumental. That'll be an instrumental tour. But that's going to be promoting my latest album, Truth Decay. I don't know if you're familiar with Truth Decay. We should send you a copy.
Yeah, it's really great. When did it come out?
It came out about a year ago. I've done very well.
Less than a year ago, I think.
For an independent release, it's done very well.
Yeah, it's really great.
All the guys from the Stephen Wilson Band are on it, and a lot of other special guests. And I highly recommend it. I think it's a pretty cool mix of a modern version of jazz rock in this day and age. So I strongly recommend it.
Oh wow, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. We'll send you one.
Yeah, I could send you the files or whatever. Yeah.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Well, we did it. Jane and Adam, thank you very much for joining us this Saturday afternoon to talk about the upcoming musical endeavors of both of you.
Thank you.
Can I just want to do one more plug for the campaign, if I may?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so the campaign ends this evening, and we have over 100 backers right now for the campaign. But we still have a few $1,000s to go to reach our goal. Mm-hmm. And any contribution in any amount really helps us get there. So
we appreciate
and will be totally appreciated. And I will be forever grateful for any donation. So it's Indiegogo.com. And you can also, just to go directly to the campaign page, you can go to my website, janegetter.com, and there's a link right there. You can go right there. So
awesome. So to all our listeners, take 2 minutes of your time today to check on Jane's current Indiegogo campaign to fund her new album, which is precisely closing today, April 13th at midnight. Remember, no contribution is small, and if anything of what we've heard in this chat is a good indication, you will certainly want this album in your collection.
Right. Thanks so much, Rodrigo. Are you going to be a prog stock?
I will.
Oh, excellent. Okay,
right.
Cool. Okay.
We'll catch up.
Bye.
Thanks, bye. The link to the campaign can be found on this page. Once again, I am Rodrigo Altaf with Sonic Perspectives, reminding you to follow us on the usual social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. I'm going to leave you all now with my favorite track from Jane's previous album, On. This is the fantastic Train Man. Prog on, guys.